All right. Good morning to those of you on the East Coast. Good morning also to those of you on the West Coast. I'm your host, Brandon Troy, host and co creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. And thanks so much for joining us this morning for This Week in Review, the show in which we give you the rundowns of the goings on in the entertainment industry. And of course, I'm not alone in talking about some of the news bits that make the rounds over the course of the week. So, I'd love to introduce back this week, Spillman. What's going on, sir? How you doing?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and good afternoon to those of you in England and places to the west of me, well, east, east of me. There you go. But yeah, good morning. Hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. You know, we ate a lot of turkey. You know, got to the yams, so you know, we're ready for another week. How y'all doing?
Absolutely, absolutely. Hope you guys are enjoying those leftovers. I know I am.
Don't
Um,
eat those leftovers no more. Throw those leftovers away.
hey, yeah, throw that turkey away. Throw that turkey away. Throw that turkey away.
If you got a pie in your refrigerator, still throw that pie away. The pie's not good no more. Throw
It's
all
no
that stuff
good. It's
away.
no good.
None of it is good. Go to the hospital.
You can't
Listen,
go
please
wrong. I'm not gonna lie though. You can't go wrong. Some of the sides are still good. Some
don't
of the
listen to
sides are still
Brandon.
good.
Nothing is good from
I'm
Thursday,
sorry. Sides are still good. The turkey.
Saturday,
I'm
a
sorry.
week
Sides are
and
still good.
2 days ago, ladies and gentlemen. Don't listen to Brandon. He's gonna put you in the hospital. Uh, worst meal that'll be your last meal. Don't do that. Don't do that. Throw that stuff away. Go out and get some fresh food, ladies and gentlemen. Don't listen to Brandon. It's time. You should have been to the grocery store again.
But be that as it may, guys, as I said, this week in review, giving you the rundowns that we know that you are busy. So we try to do our best to give you kind of the goings on in entertainment over the course of the week. And it was quite a few things that, went down over this week. So, Spill and I are going to, discuss it. And, whether, you're watching live or, you watch it after the fact, feel free to share some of your comments, your thoughts on some of the things, that we discuss here today. um, so we'll start first with our, our news bits, and one of the things that we want to discuss today is centered around Mark Cuban. So over the course of this week, news came that Mark Cuban, who many folks know as the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, sold, I should say, is selling a majority of his NBA club of the Dallas Mavericks to the family of Miriam Adelson. If you don't know who that is, she's the widow of the GOP donor and casino magnate Sheldon Adelson. And from the story that was provided, through NBC News, excuse me, the deal is worth 3.5 billion. Now, if you guys are aware of the history with Cuban, you'll know that if I recall, and I'll confirm this in a moment, is that he bought the Mavericks over 2 decades ago for about 285 million, and now, as I said, I'll confirm that. I believe that was the initial price, and now selling it majority share of that team for 3.5 billion. Now, there is an interesting tidbit here in that even though he is sharing the majority of his stake in the basketball team to the family of Miriam Adelson, he still will have control over basketball operations. So I do have my thoughts on that because that's not something you commonly see in situations like these, where you still have the person having say in terms of the basketball operations. Normally, if you have them selling a majority share, they are relinquishing all control altogether. So Spillman, you hear this, and what are your thoughts?
I am surprised, but not too shocked. You know, recently when the any NBA owner gets in a little bit of trouble with something, you know, you look back at the Donald Sterling situation or the situation recently with the Phoenix Suns owner. I think that you know Cuban has been one of the main people who have been kind of weirdly scared about, like, practices and business things on the inside of how these organizations are run being public knowledge. So that's a very interesting thing. He's been a big booster for the NBA for a long time. He's known as an eccentric owner. Um, he was one of the first owners to have a team private jet. He really ushered in the era of team jets where we all the teams all fly on their own jets. He personalized a lot of the locker room accents and everything to try to make the Dallas market a more marketable market than it was in the past. Because Dallas is not a big NBA city; it's a big football city, and we know they've got big money in Dallas because they got all that oil money. But to see him selling this team is very interesting. They won that championship in 2011 against LeBron, and I'm sure you're going to remind us all about that as a LeBron hater. Um, but it's just interesting to see that he's selling the team half of a flip to go from 200 mil to 3 billion. I don't. Just doing the math off the top of my head, I think that's a 150% increase in your investment or something like that. It might be more because I think a billion is 1,000 million. If that, I know that's true. A billion is 1,000 million. So turn something from 200 million into 3 billion is quite the flip, and especially in that amount of time.
Well, I'll clarify that. That's how much the majority price is going for, but they're worth far more than that. The team overall is just that majority piece that they're actually buying.
$3 billion, buddy.
Still 3 bill though.
Still
Still
three
3 bill.
bill, like I said. So still pretty impressive. Mark Cuban is an innovator. Um, he he moved he's moved a lot of this stuff. We they talk about player empowerment. Mark Cuban is one of the real player empowerment owners. So as a Laker fan, I hate to see him go because he was a great foil. We beat the Mavericks all the time. We'd love to see them lose to us. But I'm just very interested. What are your thoughts more so on just the place that Cuban has in NBA history? Because he did win a championship, and to win a championship in Dallas, especially, Dallas was not a marquee franchise. For him to win a championship there and to make it such a relevant team for years, like Dirk Nowitzki, and now with Luca, it'll be at least another 5 years while they're still on top because Luca's going to be if he stays. If they can keep Luca, that's a lot of money on their hands. So how do you feel about it?
So here's my thing. It a lot of it you covered it already in that for a long time the Dallas for a good little while there, at least in my time of being a fan of basketball and following the NBA, the Dallas Mavericks were one of those teams where like I hate to say it, where basketball went to die. like like nobody really was really about the Mavericks, and they were just one of those teams where you had those premier teams, and whenever they went into came into Dallas to play the Mavericks, or the Mavericks came into town, a lot of times it wasn't taken too seriously. Oftentimes the team was overlooked a lot of times, where teams were like, "Oh, we playing Dallas Mavericks, bet we good this week, or we good today." We good today. But credit to Mark Cuban. In that era, you had Steve Nash, you had Michael Finley, you had Dirk Nowitzki, arguably the best international player to play, in the NBA. I know right now we still have Jokic, so that is going to be arguable now. If he continues to go on the run that he's on
Yeah,
now,
but
but at least
he's got to get to number 6 all time. Dirk is number 6
I
all
know. I
time.
know. I'm just saying. I know it's still early days. It's still early days. So right now, in my opinion, it's still
I
dirt.
would agree.
It's
I
still
would agree.
dirt.
Yeah.
But Jokic, like I said, if he continues on the pace that he seems to be on trajectory wise, he can get himself there into that conversation, I feel. But still, be that as it may, like you said, of really turning the face of that, turning around just the whole perception of that franchise into a, you know, a marketable franchise, a desirable franchise that players wanted to play. And, you know, I'll never forget, and this I'll age myself right now in talking about inside stuff. You know, some, you have some cats out there, you know what I'm talking about. But, you know, back in the day, you know, you had inside stuff, and on Saturdays it would come up on there. You get highlights of, you know, those of us who didn't have cable, you know, they gave the highlights of what was going on in the NBA games back in the day. Um, Shout out to Amar Rashad. You know, that was my show. You know, I would make sure that I was there every single week to check out that show. And I never forget, I believe one of the episodes, you know, a lot of times they'll give like the BTS, the behind the scenes stuff with a lot of those teams. And on one of those occasions, they, you know, had Mark Cuban kind of give like a tour, or it may have been that, or it may have been during the Dallas Maverick game, during like the halftime. He gave a tour of like the facility, like what he was doing, like with a lot of the places where, you know, the players hung out. And I was like, dang, now I want to actually play for the Dallas Mavericks. You know, all the stuff that he was breaking down that they had, like luxury wise, for a lot of the players to make it a place where they would want to play and enjoy playing. So I still do find it interesting, just that tidbit about the basketball operations, because that was the first thing that came to mind in thinking about the story. Is I'm like, yeah, okay, you're selling a majority stake, but are you really handing it over to folks that know basketball? And you know, yes, according to the story, they are in the industry of what, casinos and gambling. But when it comes to actual basketball, X's and O's, and knowing, you know, should we draft this player, you know, should we put in, you know, push to get this player, it's cool to see that despite the fact that he's not going to have a majority stake, you know, Cuban is still passionate about ensuring the success of the team by still holding on to the basketball operations side. So I don't know how you feel about that, but that's how I look at it.
I don't trust his basketball operations honestly. He did famously trade Steve Nash for
But I'm saying it
Bubblegum.
could be
He did.
worse. It could be worse. It could be handed over to, you know, it could not be him, and it could, you know, like I said, not just the majority stake, but even the basketball operations side could go, you know, to the Adelson. There's no slight to the Adelson, you know, family, but you know, you
Adelson
want to make sure that you have
family.
someone who is fully aware of like the ins and outs of what's going on, basketball wise with that organization. And I'll give Mark, I'll give Cuban credit in that. I know you said that you don't really trust his basketball acumen, but
Sure, the
but
2011 is one of the greatest championships of
but
all
hold on,
time.
hold on. But be that as it may, even if he may not have like the extreme pedigree that you would have with some other basketball minds out there, he is still someone. And this is from, you know, observing him on Shark Tank. He and listening to a lot of, you know, the conversations of how he does business in general. He's someone who, even if he doesn't know it, he's willing to listen to those who do. So
Okay,
even
yeah, I agree with that.
so even if he may not know the answer, he's willing to get the expertise from someone who does know it. So you want to have someone like that versus someone who may not have that same approach. So
For
that
sure,
is my only thing that I would say there.
for sure. We're picking hairs here because thinking back on it, you couldn't keep two guys who couldn't be defensive stoppers and hope to win in the playoffs. And so they had to get rid of one of those guys. You picked a taller one. I totally understand that. Because
And you know what? You know what, Spill? I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you that you acknowledge that your player there choked in that finals against the Mavs. You know, I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of you being objective, you know.
well, you know, I,
I'm
he
proud of
wasn't
your
wearing the
objectivity,
uniform when
man.
he choked. He was not wearing the uniform when he choked. That was in a different whole other state. So I can admit that when he chokes in another uniform, but we're not talking about purple and gold right now. We're talking about the goat of all goats. So we're talking about him in a positive way, but truly, they choked that one away. I think that's one of the all-time jobs. As far as like a cohesive unit coming together and surmounting a hill that seemed insurmountable, because that Heat team in 2011 is possibly one of the best teams I've seen in a
Oh,
long
no
time.
doubt. That's what makes it so shocking on how they lost that
Oh,
first go around.
because you just looking at it on paper, you would say this is going to be a 20-point blowout every game. I don't see who on that team. They had like Josh Howard and stuff on that team. Who was going to check LeBron?
Right.
JJ Barea was. Who knew? Who
Right.
knew? JJ smaller than you, Brandon. That's crazy. But that's why we play the games, ladies and gentlemen. That's why we play the games.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So switching gears to our next story. And this is insane to think about. But this is regarding Macaulay Culkin. If you know your actors. Macaulay Culkin, of course, is the iconic star of Home Alone, but many other films come to mind as well. But this past week, as a matter of fact, yesterday, he was honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. It was around 11:30 Pacific Standard Time yesterday at 6353 Hollywood Boulevard. He got the 2,765th star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame yesterday. As I said, iconic, star from Home Alone, but many other films come to mind if really, are really delving into his body of work. I'm thinking of like The Good Son. People sleep on Page Master.
Page Master.
I'll really take it back. I'll really take it back. Page Master,
Oh, that's a core memory, ladies and gentlemen.
bruh. So, um, but I mean, of course, there are other films in there, but like I said, Good Son, comes to mind, and of course, Home Alone. I grew up on that franchise, so and during this celebration, you had guest speakers Catherine O'Hara and Natasha Leon, and of course Catherine O'Hara played his mom in the Home Alone franchise, so it was cool to see that she was a guest speaker at his as celebration. Spillman, what are your thoughts on Macaulay Culkin finally getting a star on the Walk of Fame? Like it's crazy to think that it has taken this long.
I wish they would have gave it to him when he still was himself, because like this is Macaulay Culkin in this picture, but that ain't Macaulay Culkin. That ain't who we remember, ladies and gentlemen. Like I'm a father, and my son is about 4 years old. So they have the holiday movies out right now. They cycling things on the streaming platforms right now. And I let him watch Home Alone the other day. And at first he was like, "Daddy, this is not a cartoon. I don't want to watch it." But then the magic of the movie just took him in, and he saw that, wait, I could be in charge of myself, and I could save our house, Daddy. And I was like, yes, sir. If push comes to shove, you might be able to use cartoonish tricks to expel a pair of murderous criminals from our house. So just a great, just a great '90s star. Like, oh my, he's 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 a little bit. He was scaring us for a little bit there. I think like I would say about 2015. Would you say he was kind of scary? Where they were having he had the long hair. He cleaned himself up in this one. I like how he looks here. He looks healthy. It looks like he's getting good sleep and 3 square meals a day. And people are giving him his 6 hugs, because you have to have 6 hugs to have a good day, ladies and gentlemen. If you are not having 6 hugs, make sure you hug a friend or a loved one, because otherwise you're feeling lonely. But Macaulay Culkin, such a great actor. As a child actor, some of the best scenes ever. Like Is that Mermaids where he died with the bee hive attack? Was that Mermaids or is that the other one where he's got the glasses? You remember?
Say again.
The one where he dies. It's like a movie where he's
Oh,
the
my
one.
girl. I'm sorry, we
My girl,
spoiling here,
that's the name
guys.
of
We
it.
spoiling it here if you haven't seen it. But yeah, my girl.
My girl. Yes, we're spoiling a movie from 30 years ago. Sure.
Right, from 30 years ago.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert, ladies and gentlemen. But my girl. Oh, he died of that. That's a tear jerker. But Macaulay Culkin, great actor. What can't be said about him? My black or white, he's a protege of Michael Jackson. It's a alleged protege. We don't know. But yeah, Macaulay Culkin. What's your favorite Macaulay Culkin movie, Brandon?
So I went down some of them. So like, of course, Home Alone. Classic. First Home Alone, second Home Alone. Um, I- the Good Son. When he was like, evil, like
That was a good
with,
one.
with
Yes.
him and Elijah Wood, like classic
Yes.
movie.
Yes.
Um, Gosh, what's another one? Richie Rich. You know,
Oh. Oh.
I know I'm taking it back. I'm going down memory lane. I'm going
McDonald's
down
and his
memory lane.
friends. He had McDonald's and his
That's what I'm
friends.
saying. There's too many to count, man. I'm going down memory lane. That's what I'm saying. I keep dropping these, and the fact that you responding the way you are is just a testament of how iconic
Yes.
these roles that he has done over the course of his career. Where it's like, oh yeah, that's right, he did that. Oh yeah, that's right, he did that. Oh yeah, that's right, he was in this too. So
Yeah, he's the boy Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen. Like if they did a fusion dance, they would become Macaulay Culkin, and that's how powerful they would be.
because I mean, so here's the thing, and this is going back to what you were saying. I'll touch on it briefly, but I won't dwell on it. Is more oftentimes than not, when you had those actors that had great success as kids, it's really difficult to be able to break out of that and to reestablish yourself as an adult. Some have been successful at it and some haven't. And even in that time, when you're in the public eye like that all the time, like I can't imagine, what that would be like and how tricky and difficult that would be. So, even in all of those times where it seemed like, he was going through, a rough time, you know, even amongst all of that, you could still he was still, when he was acting in projects, he's still produced, good work. And even in interactions where you hear about, co-stars that had worked with him, on as he, had done roles later on in his career as an adult, there, from what I could recall, there hadn't been any instances where like they had a negative thing to say. Like he always seems, in terms of uh his what he's done among his co-stars and in working with his co-stars, has always had, a reputation of, being about the work and bringing his all to any respective role that he's done. um Now, with all that said, it's great to, like I said, finally see him earn a star in the Walk of Fame. There have been instances, and it's not a slight to anyone who has earned it prior to now, but Culkin should have been earned one ages
Ben,
ago. It's crazy to me that he just now is getting his star in the Walk of Fame, in terms of how the impact that he's had on pop culture and the roles that he's done. Like all pretty much all the roles that we have discussed, in
my
terms of the
friend.
impact, and in terms of the impact that they've had, they are all, you can meme pretty much everything in terms of moments that he's had throughout his career and his filmography of roles that he's had. Whether it's Home Alone, whether it's, like I said, The Good Son. There's so many things in The Good Son that are memeable, that are quotable, when you talk about it and when you think about it, like it takes you back to that moment of seeing it that first time. And the thing that's wild is that it was such. This is why I bring up The Good Son too. It was such a shocking thing, because for so long he had been like America's, quote unquote, America's son, where like, you know he had encapsulated how people felt of a really precocious like kid, and like the situations, people really galvanized behind that in terms of that character, of Kevin from Home Alone. So to see him do like a complete 180 of being someone who's like completely devious and evil, and like does all these like manipulative things as a kid, you know there's no monsters in The Good Son, but like that character is like frightening.
There is one. There is one. It's Macaulay Culkin. He's
Right.
the
That
monster.
character is frightening, yet
Thanks to
there
the
are no
name.
monsters, like no monsters or no like supernatural elements to that film. And that's testament to him as an actor, that he was able to bring that level of um I don't know how to explain it, like evilness or what, however you want to, call it, that provided animosity that felt very threatening in that film. So shout out to him. I'm glad that he got his star in the Walk of Fame. It's well deserved. Should have been gotten it, dude. So happy that you got it. All right. So now getting into some film and TV news. Um, we had some news. A lot of it was, I guess we could say, in the horror realm. In terms of the film and TV news that came. We received news that Thanksgiving, the horror film that is out in theaters now, got its green light for a second film. We did get some Alien news with the FX series. We have Timothy Oliphant, who you see there on the right there. He is being added to the FX series that we'll have for that franchise, and then of course Alien Romulus, that is set to be the next film installment. There was confirmation in terms of its setting, being that it's going to be set between the first Alien and the second Alien film, Aliens. So you hear this news, Spillman. I'm not sure if you saw Thanksgiving. I believe you haven't seen it yet,
I
but
haven't seen Thanksgiving, but
oh, you did. You did see it.
I have not. No, no,
Oh,
no.
you
I
haven't.
have not.
Okay. All right. So, what are your thoughts on what we have on the news cycle with film and TV?
I think I'm interested in this, Thanksgiving. This sequel. You know, famously, horror movies usually don't get going to the second or third installation. Jason wasn't Jason until like the third movie. So we'll see where this goes. We I think that they're doing more in horror right now, as far as greenlighted stuff, because it's just too much. Um, it's really too much um, emphasis on the comic book genre right now. It's good to see them studios putting money into something other than that, because they were for a while trying to just pump out as many comic book movies as possible. So I'm interested in that. I'm a big fan of the Aliens movies. Um, I've seen all of them actually. I think I've seen both of the Prometheuses. I've seen all of the original ones. This series is interesting. I'm very interested in the series. Oliphant is a good actor, so I'd like to see him in it. But I'm interested in seeing these alien movies. I've always liked the idea of aliens. It's something very horrific of something growing inside your body that is not supposed to be there. That's top 10 of the horrific things that you do. Like, you're scared to go in lakes because of leeches getting under your skin, or other kind of pathogens and other kind of things. So, great horror stuff. Truly checking into a core of what scares people. So that's a new interesting thing. Normally I poo poo like where they do a sequel that's a prequel, but it's between two movies from 40 years ago. Normally, ladies and gentlemen, I do talk bad about them, but I don't feel like the Aliens franchise is as mined as other franchises are for this kind of thing. But we can argue the Prometheus is a callback to that stuff, but Prometheus was technically a whole new part of that universe, so it wasn't as egregious in my eyes. And also, there's not going to be like, I pray to God, if they de-age Sigourney Weaver in this movie some kind of way, I'm going to be really frustrated because I'm tired of them doing that. If they're going to be doing a in between thing, but I'm interested in it. Alien is a great franchise, so I'll let you give your thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess in speaking to each of these stories, I did have a chance to see Thanksgiving. Uh, I saw it. Yeah, I saw it last week, and it was a lot of fun. So the fact that we have a second film coming, is cool to see. They do leave it open in such a way where it doesn't feel like a cash grab. Like it feels like something that seamlessly could lead into a sequel if the opportunity was presented. Um, it for those who are like gore hounds, those who know me, I love horror films. You know, if it has gore, great. I don't want gore just for the sake of gore, but if it's a part of the story and in terms of and what telling the story and how maybe the monster or the killer operates in that horror film, then so be it. And with that being said, it is used effectively, in the film. It is used creatively in the film in terms of the holiday that we are discussing. So you know, cool on Eli Roth that we now have a boogeyman, so to speak, that we can have for Thanksgiving. Because I mean, up to this point, if I can really think back, and uh, it's I'm kind of hard pressed to recall having a boogeyman that can represent that particular holiday. So, good on him and on finding that niche for himself and having, a monster, or she say not necessarily a monster, but having a boogeyman, so to speak, that you can have that can take over, that period of time, or that particular holiday, or represent that particular holiday. um, I will say that there are elements of it that are somewhat predictable, and maybe just because I've seen so many horror films over my time, and especially those where um you have a boogeyman, so to speak, that is taking out each of the ensemble one by one. You always have that mystery element in play, or that detective element in play of trying to figure out who it is. I had already determined who it was, maybe after the I want to say the halfway mark of who it was. I had like my list of suspects, of course, but as we got to like that halfway mark, I was like, "Oh, this is where they're going." And lo and behold, that was where it was, going. That was I was like, it can't be, in terms of the curveball that I'm guessing you guys are going to be throwing. It has to be this person, and it was. So, but still, even with all of that being said, it's cool that we now have a boogeyman for this particular holiday, that how they operate and how they interact with the other characters in terms of how they attack them is interesting, and how they go about it. So I'm interested to see how they continue that story. I don't recall, Spillman, if you're a huge horror guy. I feel like you watch some horror movies, but some of them, like,
I watch them. I just, I'm a bit of a punk. I'm a big man, but I'm scared of the scary man. Like people popping out from the corners, like that scares me.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
I do like the movies. The most recent one I saw, I did see the most recent Exorcist that came out. I saw that a few weeks ago. That was pretty good. But yeah, I think that the horror genre is a good genre. They don't get as much credit, or even back, like Hollywood takes horror even less seriously than they take comedies, which is kind of crazy because horror is just like comedies. it can get stale very easily. So if you
Yes.
have a good horror
Yeah.
movie, I feel like, and also the good horror or good comedy directors are generally much better directors than the good drama directors, because
Yeah.
anyone can take a story of someone who's dealing with something very emotional and make it into a good movie. It takes a real good eye to turn something that is patently ridiculous, like a Killer Pilgrim, and make it into something that's riveting. So, um, you know,
I was
uh,
gonna say I'll give Roth this credit again because like just like what we have with Saw, now he can essentially take over, this holiday for a good long
mhm,
while with this franchise. If he continues to make come up with a story to keep it fresh and keep it interesting, we may have a Saw on our hands where like you when Saw first came out, we could always count on, okay, there's gonna be a new Saw every Halloween, if not every Halloween, every other Halloween. So now we could potentially be seeing that with this franchise of having it every Thanksgiving or at least every other Thanksgiving, depending on how long it will take to produce it. Now this upcoming sequel is set to come in 2025. So my guess is it will be every other year if they
mhm,
continue on the pattern that they're on. If they decide to do another one after the second one, but let's get to the second one first and hope that it's as good as or if not better than this current installment. Now, in talking about the Alien franchise, um, it looks like we're getting a lot of Alien in the near future. We're getting this series and we're getting this
they did
movie,
a lot
and
recently. He's been pumping out property with it. So
yeah. So I'll be honest when it comes to the Alien franchise, and don't get me wrong, I love the Alien franchise. In terms of where it has gone, or I should say where it left off with, what was the last one? It wasn't Prometheus. It was I'm brain farting on it. It was the one where it left off with the two androids, and we had like
his sequel, I believe.
yeah, it's called Alien Covenant.
Yeah.
So with Covenant, they left it off in left it open in terms of where it could go and picking up on the first Alien. But I feel like the more that they do these installments, be it TV or film, it takes away the mystique of the xenomorph.
Hmm.
Where like based off of how they have explained the prequel so far, it makes it, and I'll spoil this, but I mean it's been out for a couple of years, guys. Is that of trying to use the androids as a way to explain away how the xenomorphs came to be.
Hmm.
I don't know. It just makes it seem very small. Like it
Yeah.
makes the story really small when it would have been far more interesting if it was maybe a species that was discovered off world in some random place, and maybe they were, taken in by another alien species. Like that was always my theory. But like to have it kind of just be, it's kind of like how I feel about Star Wars, where I'm like, everything doesn't need to center around the Skywalkers. Like we could have a story where
Luke
we could
Skywalker.
have a story that can be expanded beyond. And don't get me wrong, Skywalkers are awesome, but we could have a story that can expand it beyond that. So now within the Alien franchise, yeah, we have androids. Yeah, we have this evil corporation. We don't have to have everything, insulated within those elements that have been introduced. You can throw a wrinkle in there and have the aliens come from someplace else. Because I mean, we had the similar thing happen in the second Aliens movie where we never knew where the aliens came from, or how how the where the face huggers came from. And then in
Right.
the second Alien film, we finally got the alien queen that was introduced in there.
Yeah.
But again, there was still some mystique because we still didn't know. Yeah, we had a idea of where the face huggers came from, but we still didn't know where the aliens came from. And again, to your point, when we're talking about horror films, and especially horror films that have monsters in it, it sometimes it takes away the bite, so to speak, of that creature if we are sharing too much about that creature and where they come from. Same thing with Wolverine. Like Wolverine was so awesome when we didn't know a whole bunch about his history.
When he was a
And
complete
I feel like some
mystery,
of the mystique has been taken
Logan, he
away
only
from
had
him.
one name. Exactly.
I know some of the
Exactly.
mystique has been taken away from him based on that whole history of how when he was born and all of that stuff that we've come to know later. So I don't know what your thoughts on are, but that's just where I stand when it comes to Alien.
I can agree with that. I can agree with that. I think that, a lot of the most recent stuff about the aliens has actually decentralized the aliens. Like the Prometheus movies, I think there was like the Prometheus, the actual Prometheus, the first movie, like you only see the alien like for 2 minutes at the end of the movie. The rest of the movie, like you
And
see
I liked
clubhouse
here's the
stuff.
thing, I'm gonna say something that a lot of people may not agree with. I liked where they were going with that because again, still provided some mystique to the alien in that it wasn't, created by something that we've already been introduced to. Like they had that whole element where, we had the what is it, the engineers and all of them, and you had the what is it, the alien goo and all of that stuff. Like that was interesting. Like they could have still gone down that route, but I feel like in the second film, because so many people complained about, oh, there's not enough xenomorphs, that like they kind of erased that off the chopping board, so to speak, and kind
Yeah,
of caved and tried to make the story smaller by having it about the androids and how the androids created it.
right.
So, but be that as it may,
There's
I could go on and on about that. But the last thing that we're going to talk about today, guys, is about the boys. If you guys know that we had a prequel series not too long ago that wrapped up called Gen V, that gave a kind of some background history of some of the other characters that exist in that universe, some of the younger heroes that exist in that universe. But of course, with the boys, we have our seven, the big seven, led by none other than Homelander, and it's going to be premiering at CCXP, so the event, the Comic Con that's out there that I still haven't yet to go to, but will be making a point, is on my bucket list to be able to check out. But they're supposed to be premiering the teaser there, and I'm assuming, of course, that we'll get the teaser momentarily once it premieres there online. I don't know if you're caught up, Spillman, but if you are, regardless, what are some things that you're looking forward to seeing in this teaser that's supposed to be debuting today?
Well, I do know that The Boys is one of the most memed shows on the internet. That people love to use the content from The Boys. It's got some of the most iconic things. It's a great commentary on the idolatry and commercialization that's come to the comic book. It's almost a perfect property for right now because everything is good. That's a superhero, and truly, some of the things that superheroes represent are kind of crazy social ideas that really we shouldn't get down with if we're talking about a just and real society of laws and mores and things that people follow. So that's very interesting. I'm also interested to see where they go with the show. I'm not the biggest fan of it because it's on a platform that I generally choose not to use personally. But I, do see a lot of the things that are popular with them, and I do really big up the creators on it because it's a very good commentary. It's in the same vein as Watchmen, so it's a very good commentary. What about you, Brandon?
So it's always been from the moment that we had that first season, and give you an example, we had that moment with regarding I think the character, I believe the character's name is Huey, um where he had that incident with his girlfriend, and
Terrible.
like terrible moment, but like just giving just that idea of
Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Crazy.
crazy. But yeah, just thinking of that moment, and knowing after seeing that moment, like, okay, this is what we're in for. Like, it was such a shocking moment, but to have it shown that way in such a graphic degree like that, it set the tone, for me and watching it, of what to expect going forward. And they haven't held back, but it's provided, just like you said, Spillman, just an interesting commentary of what if heroes really did exist,
What if
in
he
our
did?
world. And no, it's not gonna. As
It's not
much as
good
we,
if Batman is
as
beating
I'm
up all
saying,
the
as
villains and
much
stuff.
as we
That's
would
not
like
good.
to hope, it would be like what we see in like the MCU and the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or even in the DC universe, of how superheroes, you would expect superheroes to behave. Let's be honest, superheroes wouldn't really behave like that in the real world, with the circumstances of how things are functioning in today's world. They would more than likely, behave the way we see in the boys. So the fact that we have that interesting commentary, and I mean, they're not only just the commentary of superheroes, but how they've effectively tackled other issues under the guise of being a superhero. Like, give me an example. I don't know. Did you have a chance to see Gen V?
I didn't see Gen V, but
Okay.
I'm kind of
So
versed
I'm
in
not
it.
I'm not going to spoil anything with that show, but I will say that, like, when it comes to that show, they tackle a lot of issues that teenagers or young adults deal with, and they use the abilities that these characters have to kind of highlight what those issues are. Whether it's, body image, whether it is uh, racial issues, all types of things, gender issues, all of it. They utilize those abilities and those powers to be able to highlight and further discuss what those issues are, and how they would look in a real life setting. So um I kudos to them for being able to, yeah, there are some outrageous moments in there, and yes, there are some funny moments and shocking moments in there that are sometimes, crazy, or sometimes humorous, but within all of that, it provides, just like you said, a commentary on real life issues and things that we deal with in our day to day, which, I really applaud them for that. So and thinking of like the prior trailers that we've seen, whether it's been with Gen V, with the prior seasons of The Boys, and what has happened thus far in the seasons that we've had with The Boys, um, I it, I can't really think of how they could top themselves, but based off of the image that they had on their social media of just showing like that one, image behind Homelander, them saying, "Okay, this is the most tame, or the calmest it will be." And let me see if I can find that. Okay, here we go. I'll share it. Let me see if I can share it here now, so that way you can see. I know some of you guys have seen it off of I was gonna say Twitter, but off of X. um,
He called it Twitter on the MSNBC the other day. What's his name? When he was on the TV cussing, Elon did say Twitter. He still called it Twitter, so it's Twitter.
so yeah, so right here in this image that they have there, you say, "About this time tomorrow," this is from yesterday. "You're gonna open this app to watch the season 4 teaser trailer. It's full of nothing but rainbows and butterflies. Who are we kidding? It's full of madness after this first frame." Um, so like, just the idea that, yeah, this is the calmest it's going to be for the entire teaser. After that is going to be complete madness. So I'm for it. I'm looking forward to seeing, what the show has in store. It left off in an interesting point based off of what transpired with Soldier Boy and with Homelander. There are some characters that have in prior seasons we haven't heard from. So there's potential to have them come back. If I recall, the character's name is Cindy. If I recall, the one who has those like telekinetic powers that they found in the facility, we haven't heard back from her in a while. If I recall, that was like, don't quote me. I want to say it was like season two. At the end of season two, when they went to the facility, so she escaped from that facility, and we haven't heard from her since. And I'm sure, we have some characters out there that are going to make a return. You'd be like, oh, snap, that's right. They did it. They didn't, die in the prior season. They weren't often the last season. They still around and kicking. So I'm interested to see, moments like that, or maybe they'll tease some people that we haven't seen in a while that are making a return. And then also, to see the continued story of, our boys and the craziness that they get themselves into. So, any final thoughts, Spillman, before we wrap up here today?
I just have, I do know that we're excited for the boys, but really the most exciting trailer to come out is the GTA trailer. I don't believe that we didn't talk about this week. I know it's because you're an Xbox man. I know you're an Xbox
Oh, go
man, and
for it. Go for it. Go for it.
I'll give you a pass because it's Xbox
It's
versus
all good. Go
PlayStation.
for it.
But we've been patiently waiting for a decade for them to put out a new Grand Theft Auto, and they're actually going to make a lady be the protagonist, which is possibly crazy because would a lady be killing prostitutes? No, she would not. That's not what ladies do. But you could possibly do that in the new GTA. So I'm
Wow.
very interested to see. I mean, that's what you do in the game. I mean, there is a serial killer element that they just let you do, and they don't talk about too much. But those are things that serial killers do. But yeah, I'm just excited for that. The Boys is a great commentary, and I think that we need to be careful of who we heroize and lionize in our culture because not everybody that does grandiose things is doing good things. So just to make sure that we don't lose sight of that. That's what's
Agreed.
important. I also want to point out that my Lakers are in the quarterfinals of the in-season tournament. We do not see another franchise featured prominently in the in-season tournament because they didn't make it this year. So I'll leave you with that, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, like I said, I'm proud that you were being objective a little earlier. I'm very objective about my team. I know we're going through our struggles right now, but it's not the first time we've gone through struggles and have had our momentum and picked up momentum and gotten it all together. So, we were able to remove, one element away from the team that I feel was messing up the chemistry.
He was
And
terrible.
now that he's with DC, people are seeing it firsthand. So, that was one thing that needed to be dealt with. I'm not, crazy about the recent incident with Draymond Green, but
Hey, hey,
hey, it is what it
that's
is.
Draymond behavior. Hey, you pay for that. That's what
It
you
is
pay for.
what it is. The way that I look at it, he's the Rodman of that team.
Yes,
So, you got to
love
take the good with the bad sometimes. Not to say that it's right, but that that comes with it of him bringing that that fortitude and that defensive mindset, with that team. Not to say that a lot of his behavior is the best. I would be objective and say that it isn't, but like I said, I've seen it before where it may be at the beginning of the season, struggling, just trying to find that cohesion, and once that cohesion happens, it starts to go. So like I'm not, I have faith that they'll be able to pull it together. You still have the same cast of characters, so like it's not like they have to try to figure each other out. They've known each other for years, and they've been through it through championships for years. So, I have faith that they'll be able to pull it together and go on a run. So
we'll see. I think it's you know, uh, uh, I think that again, it's December. There's about 60 games
yeah, it's
left in
still
the season.
early,
It's a lot of time left in the season.
and so much can
Um,
happen at that time with injuries and all types of things that can change the whole dynamic of the entire NBA. So
yeah, I agree. I person that we all root for that has a problem with that bug. But he showed up last year, turned in the playoffs, so I don't talk bad about him, but I understand. But ladies and gentlemen, check us out next Tuesday. We'll be in the in-season tournament. Check us out. We're gonna be doing big things. I don't know about your team. I don't know if y'all are playing. I don't know what you're doing, but I know we're playing. So there you go. Inaugural in-season tournament. Inaugural. That's what we did. One up. Yeah, yeah.
So with that being said, we don't worry too much about little small tournaments, but more about the actual title over here in Golden State. But it's all good. It's all good. I don't sweat the small little tournaments. But
Okay.
but but come all I say just come holler at the team in June. That's all I say. I'm not worried about this little offhand little tournament over here in December. But be
I
that
just
as it
hope
may.
that y'all playing in April. I'll see y'all in April. So, yeah.
All I say is worry about not being swept by the Nuggets come playoff time.
Y'all got swept by the Nuggets too. Let's be for real. Let's be 100%.
We
Like,
sure did. We sure did. Y'all did too.
y'all ran into a buzzsaw with us. Y'all would have ran into that same buzzsaw if y'all saw Denver last year. That tall man from Croatia, he don't play.
He
That
don't.
Bama does not play.
Bad man.
He got that
Bad
dog in him.
bad man. Bad man. I'll give credit where credit's due.
Yeah,
Bad
I
dude.
can't say nothing about him. He's a point
Bad dude.
center. He's the first point center. So we
Bad
can't.
dude. But again, be that as it may, thank you guys so much for watching this week in review. We're gonna wrap it up here. Before I go, I'm gonna punt it over to Spillman. Spillman, can you tell folks where they can find you?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you can find me on Truly Spill on Instagram. You can leave quickie remarks. If you say anything offhand, I will block you. I just want you to know that I have my block hand is strong. I'm like the Kimbe with that joint. I'm like, no, no, no. So, please follow us. Follow Movers and Shakers, and please give us 5 stars. You know, let's get these comments up and let's do the thing. You're muted. We can't hear you, sir.
Well, cool. There we go. Well, again, I want to thank Spillman for hopping on and joining me on this week in review. Of course, I am your host, Brandon Troy, also co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. You can find me on X right down below at Brandon Troy ENT, and also on Instagram at Brandon Troy _ENT. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Be safe out there, and see you soon. Peace.
Let's see if we can get it to do that thing again. It did a thing. I don't know how it did it. I made it do fireworks. It was incredible, ladies and gentlemen.